President Chamorro. What a pleasure it is to have you this evening, President Chamorro.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here with you all tonight.
Perfect. So, President Chamorro, you are here tonight to answer some questions from a variety of different newspaper reporters. This right here is Berta Rubio from El Nuevo Diario.
Pleasure to meet you, Ms. President.
Nice to meet you as well.
And this over here is Manuela Gonzalez from La Prensa.
Nice to meet you, Ms. President.
Nice to meet you too.
Gonzalez, would you like to pose the first question?
Yes, of course I would. Ms. President, I wanted to ask you about your early life. Do you feel like your wealthy upbringing influenced your politics at all?
I wouldn't really say that. I would say, however, that I did learn some life lessons while I was growing up. My parents did teach me some valuable lessons that I still use every day in my private and political lives. My father taught me that authority is best achieved by persuasion and setting an example, and my mother taught me to be strong with my beliefs but moderate in my expression of them. My family was historically political, and so was my husband's. But growing up, I just wasn't really interested in carrying on that legacy. I would have rather played music. But what really jump-started my interest in politics was my husband Pedro, and I got actively involved after he died.
Well, we are certainly grateful that you did. Thank you very much for that, and we will now allow for the next question.
So you weren't really interested in politics until you met your husband. How did he influence your political beliefs?
That's true. I wasn't really interested in politics at all, especially when I was younger. When I attended Colegio Francés, I found a passion for music, and I truly believed that that was my calling. But later on, this changed, and my husband, his family had always been involved in politics and political discussions. As you know, Ms. Gonzalez, they own La Prensa. They aligned themselves with the Sandinistas, and I did too, but I still wasn't actively involved in politics until his death. La Prensa was the legacy that my husband left to me. He died crying for his country, and I refused to let him down. As I realized this, I came to see all Nicaraguans as my larger family, and serve them, and you, as president of our country.
And you've certainly done a great job. Ms. Gonzalez, do you have another question?
Yes. So what about the Sandinista Revolution attracted you, and what made you leave?
My husband and I were both opposed to the Somoza dictatorship. At the time, the Sandinistas were the only main counterculture movement in the country, and we were opposed to authoritarianism and fascism. And the Sandinista movement seemed to oppose those oppressive ideals reflected in the Somoza dictatorship. But as time went on, I began to see that the Sandinista Revolution also did not reflect the ideals that I felt were really prudent to the country. There was a lot of violence and oppression within the Sandinista movement itself, and throughout my presidency, I was very opposed to warfare and supported demilitarization. As time went on, it was clear that the Sandinistas were a militant group, and I wanted to distance myself from that.
So you left the Sandinistas and would later join the National Opposition Union. What made you attracted to that group over the Sandinistas?
The union really understood the needs of the people. Its members rallied to support peace, demilitarization, and democracy. And these are three principles that I am, as some would say, a fierce and formidable advocate of. As you know, the Sandinistas censored La Prensa and would later shut it down for over a year. I could not be associated with a party that supported this violation of free speech. The union did not condone the suppression of the people and allowed me and all Nicaraguans to speak freely.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Ms. Rubio, do you have another question?
Yes, I do. Ms. President, at that point in your life, the country was divided, as was your family. You had 2 children that were Sandinistas and 2 that were Contras. How did this familial divide aid you during your campaign?
That was a difficult thing at first, but every Sunday evening, my family and I would come together and have dinner after church. We were able to set aside our different political beliefs and maintain our traditions. My daughter and son may be Sandinistas, but they were my children first, and because of that, they're always welcome in my home. I was confident that if I could keep my family together, I could keep the country together. After all, it's just a larger family for us, right? Peace and reconciliation played a significant role in my campaign. I did not want to seek retribution, for I knew nothing would result in that other than the nation being thrust into another war, which we don't want. The nation needed someone to help them heal, and I knew it was my destiny to be that person.
During the Sandinistas regime, the United States provided the Contras with aid and funded an uprising against the government. You've been accused of accepting bribes from them and serving as a puppet for the CIA and the U.S. government. What influence did the U.S. have during your campaign?
Well, I've always represented the Nicaraguans and their interests, and I represent them now, too, for I am a Nicaraguan. During my campaign, I established I was going to serve my country and my people, not a foreign government. The United States has contributed aid to help Nicaragua recover from the treachery of the Somoza and Sandinista governments had opposed on the people. I did not make a pact with the United States. I've always found it amusing that this has been suggested because I only make pacts with God.
Describe the economic changes that Nicaragua has gone through throughout your regime. Would you say that you have helped? And are you leaving office with a better economy than when you accepted the presidency?
I would say that although our economic situation is not perfect, I do believe I'm leaving the country better than it was when I came into office. I inherited a debilitating recession, hyperinflation, and I've really done the best with the tools that were given to me. I'm not a miracle worker, and in order to correct all the damage that Nicaragua has had, our government and economy being marred by both internal wars as well as U.S. imperialism, I really did the best I could.
Describe the level of U.S. involvement during your presidency. Would you say that the U.S. and Nicaragua are allies? Why or why not?
Although throughout my campaign and during my early presidency, I was accused fervently by Sandinistas of being a sellout and a puppet for the U.S., this really could not be further from the truth. Just because I opposed the Sandinistas and the Contras, who are backed by the U.S., also oppose the Sandinistas, doesn't mean the United States are on the same page here. In addition, throughout my presidency, they cut hundreds of millions of dollars from our national funding. I find pros and cons to the situation because relying on US dollars in our economy has contributed to inflation and recession in the past. However, a lot of money that they cut would have been used for rebuilding our country and investing in non-war-based jobs.
Why did you decide to demilitarize Nicaragua? Why are you opposed to warfare? And what were some of the consequences of demilitarization for those in the military?
I decided to demilitarize Nicaragua because I felt like it was getting to a point where it was dangerous for everyday people. People were afraid of losing their lives in militant clashes, and I don't believe that fighting and warfare is conducive to having a peaceful country. The United States is responsible for implementing and sending hundreds of thousands of weapons into our country, and I feel like this has really added to the instability that we face today. So that's why I made the initiative to demilitarize the country and collect all of those weapons. Some consequences were definitely those within the military losing their jobs, but we tried to make a compromise with them by letting them keep the land that they had claimed and starting agricultural-based jobs and societies on top of them.
I'm really interested in knowing, who are you endorsing for the upcoming elections? Would you say that you hope for there to be a successful transition of power like there was when you took office?
I'm still supporting whichever candidate runs for the National Opposition Union, but I don't really like that they banned me for running for a second term. So my only choice is to retire. Due to my strong history with demilitarization, I obviously believe in peaceful transitions of power, not government coups or military ruling. Yes, I definitely believe that supporting a peaceful transition of power, and I have no plans to protest or make a stink about leaving. I will go quietly.
And we certainly will miss you. Now we have one last question, and all of the public has been dying to know, are you a feminist?
You know, I really would not consider myself a feminist. The word feminism has a really negative connotation, and I would like to distance myself from that. Furthermore, I am a staunch supporter of my husband, and though I was the president, I could not have accomplished everything in my life without the help of him. In addition, I am against abortion and believe in God's will for men and women. I cannot describe myself as a modern-day feminist.
On that note, may God bless you and may God bless us all. That's all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you so much, President Chamorro, for your time and for answering some questions. This has been News Channel 5, signing off.